Talofa, and welcome back to another episode of the 135 Footy Show, proudly part of the WesWes Network. You can go check us out on the website, weswesnet.com, and also on YouTube and all social media platforms. Welcome in the usos. Welcome back. Took the week off. Thanks for carrying the load last week. Bobby, how you been, bro?
Yeah, good, brother. The weather's a bit cold, it's a bit wet, but we're slowly starting to head towards warmer months. It was a good weekend of league. I'm still going to rep Warriors, even though it was disappointing for the Wires fans. So yeah, we held it down last week, just me and Si. So good to have you back, bro.
Yeah, nice, bro. Yeah, good to see you guys got a lot of comments, a lot of conversation going. So we'll get to that as well. And been a while, Des, welcome back. Been working hard over there with the Counter Ruck boys. Good to have you on, bro. Been a while. How you?
Oh, I'm good, mate. Yeah, it's been a while. Thanks for having me back on the podcast. Been in the wilderness a bit with the Rugby League. But, my Manly had a tough loss to take on the weekend. Close loss. Especially in these important rounds. The deeper we get into this competition.
You're keeping the hope. Well,
hey, mate.
We'll talk about your chances.
We're in there, man. We're in there. Top 8. We're here to stay.
Pull out your abacus, mate. We'll talk about that. You might need your abacus and a few extra fingers and toes.
I didn't come on here to get abused, mate.
All right, let's have a look around the traps and start handing out some flowers. A usual segment, all eyes. Let's get straight into it. I'll come to you first, Des. Your all eyes player or play of the weekend.
Yeah, we've got a few mentions here. I think we're going to start off with a debutant for the Tigers. He was on the wing. Wikipedia gives him a couple of surnames, but Isaac Thompson or Isaac Tuitbul, 28-year-old who was brought into the fold for Benji Marshall and the Tigers on the weekend. They didn't get the win, but 28-year-old he's played 13 times for the Rabbitohs earlier on, but then he's been playing his trade in the lower grades and in the rugby league scene. But just to mention from sticking it out, persevering, and it's a tough gig to try and come back after playing 13 times, having a taste of it. Having his debuted for the Tigers on the weekend. So, and he's on I guess it's a week-by-week trial, game-by-game basis. So all the best to him. Seems like he's something that he's been vying to try and get back into the first grade, and commend anyone, to play once, let alone come back as a 28-year-old. Well done to Isaac Tuitbul or Thompson. But then, honourable mention also for all eyes is Levi Hopuate for Manly Seagulls, saving Trbojevic when he got left for dust and we'll get back onto that later on, by Levi Hopuate with a try-saving tackle. Not enough to get the win, but commendable nonetheless. But Lomax getting a double and scoring some points for the Eels. And they're upset on the round.
Looking good again.
I'll give it to Lomax, yeah. Awesome. He was on the end of a couple of good tries. Good work in the middle.
Nice. Looks nice. A few honourable mentions there. So was that Lehigh Hopuati or Levi Hopuati?
Did I say? Sorry, again, mixed up with Levi O'Moore. Lehigh. Son of the great.
That's great, yeah. What's he got? I think they got an NRLW in their family now.
The daughter, one of the daughter also plays in NRLW. So Lehigh's sister, yep.
Nice, Bobby. Your all eyes seem to continue.
Yeah, my all eyes came
probably
from
someone
that,
for the Warriors or something.
No. I was from that Doggies Manly game actually. I don't think anyone in the Warriors deserved our all eyes. All eyes turn away in disgust.
Right, mate.
But
not even
for me, my all eyes was Bronson Cherry. So I don't know if he's watched the game, but there was a tackle that Kaea was making, and he sort of swung his legs around, and Cherry was on the ground, and he caught both of Kaea's swinging feet, so both boots in the face, flush on his nose. And I thought he was going to be knocked out or HIA, not come back. But he came back, and then in the second half he scored a try, 2 tries to bolster the doggies in their score against the Eels. The Manly team. That game, I thought Manly were in it for ages, and then it just
First
looked
half,
like,
at least, yeah.
Yeah, and Bronson Cherry was marking Turbo, and Turbo looks really washed, man. So, never mind that he got stepped by, I think it was Connor Tracy when he was running to score that try, but he got done a couple of times by Cherry as well. So, man, it's really sad to see good players that you've watched be amazing in their time, like Turbo has been, and then you see them coming back from injury after injury after injury, and it just looks like all of these injuries are taking their toll on his body. So it's sad to watch the greats of the game still trying to hold on. Yeah. But yeah, all the best for Turbo in the rest of the season. But for me, all eyes this week was Bronson Cherry.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the highlights of that double kick to the face.
Good jab and then a haymaker.
Pretty much. My all eyes went to Harry Grant. Man, talk about players, the marquee players in your team that you need to step up. And that was probably a tighter game than it needed to be for the Storm. But man, yeah, Harry Grant pretty much single-handedly when Hughes got injured, he pretty much just put the team on his back, just jumping out a dummy. So yeah, my flowers go to Harry Grant for my all eyes in that first game over the weekend. Let's jump straight over to Kele. Let's come over to you, Bobby, first. I don't know if you've ever had to put up one of your WesWes players, if they're even in the mix, but who was your Kele over the weekend, mate?
Well, if I was going to put up a WesWes player, which I won't, it'd probably be that right edge, man. Like Dylan and Capewell just don't seem to be clicking at the moment. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Just say it.
Was from the Broncos versus Eels game. And I mentioned it on our chat during the game when we were talking about rocks and diamonds, and even the commentators were talking about rocks and diamonds. And Rhys Walsh, man, this guy is electric. He is an outstanding talent. He is elite. But when it comes to how many mistakes that guy makes and how it can cost his team games, like he did some amazing things in the weekend, things that only Reese Walsh can do. Like when he took the ball from dummy half, man, he just took that gap. No one could touch him. And the ball that he gave back on the inside, and Walter scored that try. Yeah, that was all good stuff. But then he does some really silly things like throw forward passes, takes it upon himself to try and kick 40-20. Well. Yeah. He'll make a mistake, and then he's like, no, I'm going to get it back. I'm going to kick 40-20. Kicks it out on the full. He doesn't thinks he scored the glory try at the end there, and he's like, so you're a whole half a meter in front of the kicker. And then the camera pans back to him, and then all you can see is his face, and he's like, oh, bullshit. Effing bullshit. And I was like, no. Effing bullshit is you not being behind the kicker, bro. And it brings me back to comments that I've made before on Rhys Walsh about just he plays the game so fast that even his own teammates don't know how to keep up with him. He's like a million miles ahead of everyone else. And it just doesn't seem like the players that he has around him are able to keep up with him. And yeah, I don't know. When the Broncos were doing really well, it was Ezra Mam that was able to sort of stick with Rhys Walsh because they're both young. They both have that same sort of energy. They both read each other's play. But Ezra's going through some stuff too at the moment, and just didn't look like he was able to do much of anything either in the weekend to get the Broncos out of that hole. So Kaea for me goes to Rhys Walsh. He probably doesn't need anyone else kicking him while he's down. Like, there's been all sorts of talk about him after the weekend's game, but unfortunately, my Kaea for this week's show, guys, is Reese Walsh from the Broncos.
It's Bobby. Yeah, real hard one on the kid, but yep, I think we all saw the game. We'll get into it more later. There's your Kele over the weekend.
I already touched on Turbo missing their tackle, getting run around by Tracy on the weekend, and luckily for him, he was saved by Lehigh. I said Levi again. Lehigh Hopoase saving him in the corner at the end. But yeah, as Bobby mentioned, it's real sad to see a talent and the legend that Turbo is. It's almost like he's just trying to hang on, and obviously trying to keep his body intact just to be able to get out there to give them a fighting chance and be included. But it's almost like these other guys are more agile than him, and we've known Turbo to show the diving runs that he's done in the past, but to be run around like that, it was just almost too easy for Tracy. So he's there, he's up there. But also Rhys Walsh, I was going to mention as well that Bobby mentioned. So we won't touch on Rhys Walsh anymore, but I think it's a team effort at the end of the day, and my Kele goes to not only the Broncos losing to the Eels, but the Warriors, who are in the top 4, losing to the Cellar Dwellers, the bottom of the table Titans. So as collective, I know there was all sorts of disarray happening in Warriors camp during their game, but that's who gives my guy Kele is, a team that's looking like they're going to be marching on to the playoffs, but just not able to put it together against the lowly ranked Titans.
It's harsh, mate. It's harsh.
Not here to make friends, mate.
Hard to go past them with a performance like that, especially with what played out earlier in the week. You kind of look at the Broncos dropping that game the night before, so it's a really important opportunity to kind of put some distance between the top 4 and the rest of the pack. So yeah, probably harsh on the Warriors, but I mean not an unfair call out. Unfortunately, the performance the boys put on. My guy Kele probably lead into our top headline is just the kind of the raising again of state of origin eligibility rules and people looking to review it. Off the back, you guys had a good discussion on it last week as well, Bobby, in terms of eligibility of the especially the Pacific players and kind of questions around their eligibility to play in state of origin as well as represent their family heritage. So a lot of kind of commentary coming out from a lot of ex-players. Billy had a really good stance on it too. I guess that's why Billy gets origin. It's just funny that they're kind of using the origin arena, kind of the eligibility there and the reasons. Because I guess it is the pinnacle of the NRL. They try and say it's like the rugby union, but the international side of the game isn't as good as rugby union, and they're very aware of that. So I don't know, like it's kind of gone around, but now there's kind of talk. Vlandys looking at even making exceptions or changing the eligibility for tier 1 nations, with Kiwis and players from England as well now. So I don't know. It probably comes across like, oh, you guys are all happy when it's your, for the Islanders, but as soon as it against the Kiwis, now you guys don't like it. But there's a reason they're tier 2 teams. Like the Kiwis, there's infrastructure to have proper comps in these countries, and the same in England. You don't have those opportunities in these island nations. But I guess this is where it gets really blurred when people start making these different kind of eligibility to try and open it up or kind of. So I get it because it's quite hard when you go, well, that's the legacy of Origin. You don't want to change it, but then I don't know. I'll come to you first, Si. Des, just on your kind of just what you'd been hearing as well in terms of kind of some of the stance on trying to keep Origin as a Australian, almost like a trial.
It's it. There's been a lot of discussion over it. Nathan Hindmarsh had a stance, and it was pretty much, he put it bluntly, that you pick your state, you play for Australia. That's it.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. But then when we look at the eligibility, and there's a bit of a flow chart that I've found as to how they qualify, and it's just as simple as, were you born in New South Wales or Queensland? And yes, you go one way. No, if you weren't, then you go down another path. And if you stay yes, then you can't which state were you born in, and then that determines which state that you end up playing for. But then it's which state you play your rugby league under the majority of years, from under 6 to under 18. And then also in which state of Australia did you spend the majority of your years of school? In which state did you first participate in junior representative competition? In which state of Australia did you first play state representative rugby league? And then, did your father play state of origin, and if so, for whom? And then that pans off to, whether it's Queensland, depending on those answers to those questions, Queensland and New South Wales. If you answered no from you weren't born in either of those states, then have you resided in New South Wales or Queensland prior to your 13th birthday? And that's where a lot of players like Ronaldo Muritalo fell in. Even though beyond his 13th birthday, he was representing state teams. And so, and we all knew what happened when he was named, and it was a Maroons. He was named as a Maroon, brought into camp, but then someone must have looked back that, he was too old when he came into the state. So he wasn't under 13. I believe he was 14.
Yeah.
So, and yet they allowed him. They didn't do the research on him before that. They allowed him to play state representative football beyond his 13th birthday at age grade level. And then so the kid's thinking, I'm eligible to play state of origin.
Yeah.
If I'm good enough to play senior football.
Yeah.
And then it goes, if you've resided in New South Wales, then prior to your 13th birthday, it's a yes. You go back to the yes side that you can play. If not, then it's no. And then it goes back to that last question. Did your father play state of origin? If your father played state of origin after you've said no to all of those above, you're a yes.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's, I don't know, that flow chart is state of origin eligibility. It's got the state of origin, Holden state of origin stamp all over it. But then...
And I guess that's the thing, that's very much to get very clear on Queensland and New South Wales. Nothing in there in terms of what makes your international eligibility.
No.
I guess this is where the concept is because it's for Australia.
It's for Australia. And we've seen in the past, but then I can't recall whether he played for Fiji before he played for Australia, but, Jared Hayne played for Fiji, but I'm not sure whether he played for Fiji first before, but he was still, did he play Origin when he was playing for Fiji? I doubt it. Under these current rules, then he wouldn't have been allowed to play for Fiji, but then he's ended up representing Australia at a later date. So that's the tier 1, tier 2 difference.
Yeah.
And we've seen that happen a lot of the times when there's no issues with players that are playing in NRL who have dual heritage, and the place they were born is different to the heritage of their parents. And so they want to play, represent the country of their parents or their grandparents, which normally is a tier 2 nation, but and then they're disqualified from playing state of origin because of that. But if you go the reverse, when you look at the likes of Luai, Lingyu, Crichton, these are kids that have that heritage, Samoan heritage, and who have grown up in Australia.
So
under what Hindmarsh is saying, their state is and where they've grown up, and all the representative teams that they've grown up playing for is in New South Wales. And so they qualify under that, being born there, but then they decide their heritage, that they now want to play for Samoa. So is there a ruling that they can't play for Samoa? Does that disqualify them from playing state of origin if they're choosing now to play here? That's what the discussion's all about. And there's been a lot of players that if they're going to open it up for the sake of retaining the spectacle that is state of origin, what is that saying to players in the past, like a Mulitalo that's been squalid? If they open it to New Zealand and England, other tier 1 nations, then, look at the years that Jason Tamalolo hasn't been able to play whilst playing for New Zealand.
Yeah, imagine that. Like all of those Kiwis that would be eligible. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty harsh stance because guys like that have come out, like Cameron Smith, they empathise. They understand the fact that these guys have heritage to another nation other than the nation that they were born in. So they can empathise the fact that they want to represent that heritage, even though they're well-established tier 1 and well-established club players in the NRL. So that's what's created this whole discussion around it. And guys like Paul Gallen coming out saying that he said it blankly that you should claim your allegiance at a young age. And I think he was referring to between 12 and 16 years of age. That's impossible.
To international or to...
Exactly. Claim your... So then if you decide, if you say I'm going to represent Australia as a 12-year-old between 12 and 16, and then you turn 20 and you don't get selected for Australia, then you're null and void for any other country. That's what he's pretty much saying. But you can't do that to a teenager, to a young child. You don't know what the options are that are going to present themselves at a later stage. And these guys are saying it from a vantage point. I understand that they want to keep their, the strength within the Australian team. But what it does is that it's a colonizer mentality where, it works that they don't want anyone that's played for Australia to play anywhere else, but they gladly take players that have played for tier 2 nations prior to representing Australia in the reverse.
Well, yeah. So, I guess this is the whole commentary makes it sound silly because it's not like they've got a lack of players. And so I think for the guys that want to represent Australia, I think that's the frustrating thing is that it's like, well, who are we? If you're having a cry about Tino and Payne playing for their heritage, like what are we? I think it just makes it look worse for the Australian guys, and then doesn't help when they pick Kevin Walters to be like an interim coach. So it's their own systems. They can't blame players. It's like you've got enough players in the system to pick a decent squad. Like you guys,
Australia's still going to be a powerhouse regardless of what where the players deflect to. But it's almost like that's what's starving international rugby league is the distribution of talent. Is because New Zealand will hold a stronghold, Australia has a stronghold, then Great Britain as well. And then, and growing up, we've watched rugby leagues from the 80s through to now, and those are the three main powerhouses still. There has, and then Samoa has come through and Tonga only in recent times because of the players deciding who have already or playing well-established players in the first grade in NRL or Super League, deciding to play to represent their heritage, and that be Tonga or Samoa. And those are the only two tier 2 teams that have sort of powered through in recent times to contend or compete against the Australias and the New Zealands. And Fiji's not, Fiji's another one that struggles to get some, predominantly NRL players, but if they were to deflect, and we've had a few players go to Fiji, but it's like they're just trying to prevent the growth of the game internationally, I believe.
Yeah, which isn't the right, that's just the worst thing you could be doing, especially with I guess you look at the lay of the land with, these competitions coming from the Middle East. There's so much money there. and trying to limit the game's growth, like especially into the tier 2 nations. Like they should be welcoming it, like to it'll push the rest of these other teams up. Like it can only
But
help
then
the
that's always
game.
been the international debate and because of the regulations as they stand, it allows the player movement. And so it's not the fault of the players wanting to represent this country one
It's just
year.
what
Then if
allows.
they're eligible to represent another country, then it's not their fault. It's the eligibility rules, which are quite loose in that sense to allow that. And now we're talking about state of origin, and they're trying to say that if you swear your allegiance to Australia, then you're eligible. Or, like I said with that flowchart, the eligibility criteria, if you were born or resided in Australia, and then who your father played for.
Bobby, anything else on this the topic around the eligibility?
No, not really, man. I mean, it's been talked to death, but I find it's funny that it's reared its head again now that you've got these really super elite players that are probably the top one or two in those positions, playing in the NRL, who are now possibly talking about making the switch to play for Samoa or Tonga or whatever. And it's really racked up the old boys club, right? Like,
I'm scared.
Those Aussies, man, they've had like so many years of dominance in rugby league, and the NRL and Peter Vlandys is trying to grow not just the NRL but the game internationally as a byproduct of going to Vegas and playing all these games in front of the American audience. The only reason why he's going over there is money, man. Like he wants to increase viewership. He wants to increase the number of games that you can bet on, and he wants to put that product in front of American gamblers. Like that's the only reason why he wants to break into the American market is for money, is for the gambling money of American people. And all of this talk around eligibility with state of origin, it goes against growing the game internationally. It goes pretty much against what Peter Vlandys and all of the people around the NRL at the moment and what they're trying to do with the game and the product that they're trying to advertise. If people looked and saw how all of these guys are having all this sort of in-house bickering about eligibility rules and criteria and blah, 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 when all as rugby league fans want to see is the best players get selected, especially around state of origin time. You want to see the best players from the NRL. And yeah, you know what? Back in the 90s, when 95% of the competition was full of Ba'alangis, I'm just going to say it, they were full of Ba'alangis. And the Island boys and the Kiwi boys that were in there, they weren't the top talent, and it was good to see any sort of Kiwi or Pacific flavour be in the NRL or the Winfield Cup as it was back then, represent, because that was people that represented you, right? So that's why you supported, prior to the Warriors
Manly,
coming on
because
board.
the Edel brothers were there.
Yeah,
Daryl
you supported
Williams,
Manly, you
Matthew
supported
Ridge went there.
the Broncos, you supported the Raiders, you supported all of the teams that had all the Kiwi players in there, But, the Warriors have come on and international games growing, the NRL's growing. The number of Pacific players now playing in the NRL has
50%.
exploded. Like it's
50%.
And so, of course, the possibility and the chance of players getting selected for state of origin, there's a high possibility that the best players in those positions are going to be the brown boys, and they are. Like, if Payne Haas, if Tino, if Hammer, if these guys weren't like superstar elite players that were getting selected,
they wouldn't be bothered.
No one would bat an eyelid, man. Like, if they had so many options available at like prop, and that it was like the same sort of eliteness that Payne Haas brings, that Tino brings, the Australian boys wouldn't care. But because these are two of the best forwards going around in the game at the moment, and the other one is probably Taps from the Raiders, who's a Kiwi, it's like, all of these in the top 5, you could probably put Payne Haas, Tino, you could probably put Adam Fanua Blake, Fish. There's a whole bunch of not Australian guys.
Australians, yeah.
And this is no disrespect to the guys that actually grew up in Aussie or were born in Aussie. Payne Haas and those guys wanting to represent Samoa now, I think it's ridiculous because those guys have already won a World Cup for Australia. Payne,
Well, yeah,
Tino.
they've already
It's
done
like,
it for those guys. Yeah.
what more do you want from these boys? It's like
That's where they don't understand, because Gallen, he's Balangi as far as we're concerned, or he might have some lineage back to another country, a few generations back. But it's almost like they're discrediting the fact that these players have heritage to another island, and it's almost Taumalolo and Fifita 2.0 all over again. When they went into damage control then, they're going into damage control again now. And they're just...
I've heard talk about, they want to play State of Origin for the 30 grand and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, these guys ain't going to play for Toa or for Tonga for any money. There's no monetary incentive for the boys to turn out for Toa Samoa or for Tonga. I mean, you don't pay the State of Origin players anything. Those island boys will still want to rep New South Wales and Queensland. Like, I don't know why they bring up money. Like, that's the only thing that has attracted these boys to playing State of Origin. I was thinking, come on. They're paying that amount of money because they can afford to pay that amount of money now to the elite talent. Like, what are you talking about? Don't bring up money as the incentive and one of the main things that attracts the island boys to play for these State Origin teams. That's absolutely not their main focus, their drive. Yeah, some of the arguments have been ridiculous, and when you hear it, and it's like you can't back that up. So when you hear guys like Buzz, like Phil Gould, who sort of supported them, like Peter Vlandys has talked about, well, these kids grew up in Australia. Why should we not tell them? Why shouldn't they be allowed to represent their state? And then internationally, go and play for Samoa if you want to. Heaps of people are having sour grapes, being super salty about it, talking about how State of Origin, should be for Australia, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
that's it. It's almost like they're trying to diminish how Australian these Pacific Islanders who were born in Australia, they're diminishing their Australianness.
That was Billy Slater's point of view when he came across talked about Tino crying before the first game, and you can't tell me that Tino doesn't feel like proud to represent Queensland hard out. You can't say that because he's now deciding to play for Samoa that he's not any
less of a Queenslander.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, nah, come on, man. You can't say that you have all of these other great players to pick from. Don't worry about it. But then on the other hand, bitch about the boys that are thinking about, like, nothing's been confirmed. They've just been sort of, I'd be really interested in, and maybe, nothing's confirmed. It's all just hearsay, and they're all getting panic stations about it. I don't know.
That's the lack of understanding from their part, because they're saying, look how passionate Tino is, he's crying, but then that just edifies the fact that that's how passionate he will be playing for Samoa or for Australia. It doesn't diminish the passion.
And he's been passionate playing for Australia.
Exactly.
He smashed the Kiwi, smashed Samoa. Come on.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to the loose international regulations. If they're allowed to deflect, until they put in something concrete like New Zealand, like Rugby Union, and say they're only one nation unless there's a 3-year stand down thereafter, you're going to have players that can move about if they don't get selected for one country, because that's when it normally happened. If you didn't get selected for the Tier 1 nation, it was always normal that you see those players, the fringe players, then go represent the Pacific Island team. There was no drama about that. The drama is now that because they're the best players, as you pointed out, Bob, the best players that will get selected in a heartbeat for Australia and New Zealand. Yet
the players are wanting to go now while they're in their prime and not
give back to the island nations.
I want to give back to nations when haven't been selected for the Kiwis or the Aussie teams for the last 5 years.
And that's why it's okay for them to deflect when they don't get, they're not first pick.
Exactly.
The Tier 1 nations don't care about that when they do deflect that way, but they're caring about it deflecting because they want to be picked first. They want to pick them first, yet they're choosing that they're countering them, and that's the conflict there, is that they're not, that their coaches want to select them for the Tier 1 nations, yet they're saying, oh, no thanks, we want to represent, my heritage.
It's disrespectful for the boys that have already turned out and have bled and have sweat tears for the Kiwis and Australia, and are now deciding, okay, well, I'm going to give back to my mum or my dad's heritage, play for Samoa or play for Tonga. And all of these guys poo-poo it. And it's like, come on, man. You just don't understand the why of these boys and why they're doing it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can't say, oh, well, it's for their heritage, and then completely discredit that whole thing that you just said in an argument.
But then I guess if you look at the perspective that they're coming from, that the Gallons are coming from, and the Billy Slaters, wanting to protect not only their game, their brand, or their state, their perspective is restricted to what they know. There's no understanding of having their dual citizenship or heritage behind them to ever want to play for another country other than Australia. So because that's where they sit, that's where their understanding is limited to. They're restricted to that. So it's hard for them to conjure up the understanding that these boys are wanting to represent another country despite being a Queenslander or a New South Welsh person.
It's Eurocentric thinking that the world spins around one way of being, and it's the Spalangi way, and it's the only way. Unfortunately,
once you contradict it,
yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if they'd have the same, because like in the European Cup, like those countries where it is all European, like I wonder if they have these similar things, but because they all have heritage, it's quite easy to be like, oh, yeah, I'll play for Wales or Scotland or whatever. And then maybe these guys can play for Wales if they can make enough numbers.
It happens still. It still happens with the guys that that ply their trade in Australia, qualified probably to play for. You look at Al Masri. He played for Australia, but yet he was able to represent Lebanon.
Same with
and it was because he would only play for Lebanon when he wasn't selected for Australia, and for a long time, he only played one time for New South Wales, and so it was okay for him to do that because he was a fringe player for New South Wales for such a long time, despite the records that he had off the boot. But yet, there was no problem for him to play for Lebanon when he did.
It's double standard.
Very much. Nice, boys. I think we've whipped this one as hard as we can. No doubt we'll be talking about it next international season when these guys, the colonizers, have a cry again. I'll end with this because there was some great commentary. This all started when you guys mentioned about Hammer making a decision to possibly play for Samoa again. Motown Cruz goes, nah, it's not awesome, bro. Samoa need good admin and good coach. And I think I like this comment because of the username too. Paka Busi goes, so went all the way to making the finals in the last World Cup. You're talking about the Manu Samoa. Yes, we'll let the debates rage on TikTok, but thanks for your comments and nice topic, boys. Let's move on to the ladder, what we're seeing over the weekend. Start with you, Rog. You caught a few games there. You mentioned about the top four. How solid is that top four looking to you?
I think this is my cue when I just take a back seat in the corner here and just listen to the banter and the outcomes of the games. Which game would you like me to touch on here?
All right, we'll get it, Bobby. We'll start with our wires first, Bob.
I'll just chime in.
The game later.
Carry on.
But your thoughts just with that performance and their hopes retaining the top four. 6 more weeks to go in the regular round.
It's going to be a tough run, and it starts with this Friday's game against the Dolphins. They're not an easy team, man. And last week when Si and I talked about the ladder, I spoke about the Dolphins coming up into the 8 and the Sea Eagles dropping out. And That's exactly what happened in the weekend with the Dolphins coming up to 8th and Manly losing and dropping down to 9th. Yeah, it's a tough run home for. And I said this last week, and Si laughed at me because he goes, "Tough, man. You just got like the Titans, Dolphins. You just played Titans twice." And that's when I pointed out that we lost to the Titans both games last year. And one of them was 66-6. We got for fighting. And he was like, "Oh, you're sounding a bit worried." And I was like, "Man, you can never be too confident going up against teams, especially this late in the season. Teams that have nothing to lose. And they will always throw anything and everything at you. Like if you look at the Eels at the moment, they're coming 14th, but there's been so much chopping and changing in the halves that yes, they brought Mitchell Moses back, but Dylan Brown's been healthy.
Yeah.
But they're already looking towards the future with that guy gone, and they've selected like young halves and they've selected young boys, they've debuted people, so it's like, okay, it's obviously people who think that their teams aren't going to make it, and they're just checking whatever in there, blooding young players, bringing them up from reserve grade to give them a taste of NRL, especially if they've got like people that have been injured. Yeah, and like I said in the chat last week, we're at the Whareanga Mea teams of point of the season. They are going to be those teams, and the Broncos and the Warriors found that out last week. With those losses to the Eels and to the Titans. And I'll be honest, man, I wasn't confident against the Titans because of those 2 games last year. And even after we scored those 2 early tries in the weekend and we were up 10-0, I was like, okay, this is happening way too easy. I'd like for it to keep going, but this is happening way too easy, man. And in the next 5 minutes, the Titans came back. If I'm looking at the top 4, I reckon definitely the top 2 are locked in. Raiders and Doggies, locked in for sure. Storm, yeah, they've got an interesting run home.
Injury to Jerome Hughes. I don't know how long he's out for.
He's apparently out, but should be available for the finals, just looking at the casualty ward. So they've got him being out, coming back for the finals. So yeah, it's a big call. They get Paps back this weekend, and Alec McDonald's back as well. So even though Jerome Hughes is going to be massive for them, and they get him back in the finals, they still have to get there, and they've still got a few games ahead of them. To try
the Broncos twice too, eh? They got Broncos twice.
Got Eels, Broncos, Panthers, Dogs, Roosters, and Broncos again. So no easy run at all.
Yes, that's tough. Or I don't know. Are the Broncos imploding? Are they? Is this the slide that usually happens with the Broncos? The Warriors have got it looks like a super easy run into the finals. They've only got maybe 1 or 2 games, I think. So
especially
this
the last
Friday,
game against the
this
Seagulls
Friday
was
is
the
definitely
hardest.
going to be a tough game. The following game against the Doggies, definitely a tough game. But they get the Titans again in round 25 after they play the Dragons. And so, they've got a chance for redemption, but that's at Seba Super Stadium in the Gold Coast, that return match. Then they play Para. Para's another one of those teams that are looking to be Whareanga Mea, and they're playing really well with Mitchell Moses coming in. Man, Mitchell Moses, that kicking game just kept the Broncos at bay. Like, he just kicked them out of trouble. And I was thinking, it was effortless. And
just like the way he kept Queensland at bay in game 1.
Well, you know what? I reckon if he was
State
there.
Of Origin this year,
oh, sorry, you guys respect. I was just while we were talking
game 1.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, carry on. Yes, Mitchell Moses made a massive difference
he
in
was
the Parramatta Eels.
And it's funny that one player that we're still in a time the way the competition is so tight, and with all these teams being super close, that we still have teams like the Eels that can be super dependent on this one player. And he makes such a massive difference. He comes in, then all of a sudden they look like they can beat any team in the top 4. And let's be honest, man. They've got strike power, like Lomax, flipping the Fox.
Don't
Like
Walker's
those
been
guys,
so good for them.
they're not pushovers, man. These guys are proven winners. They know what it takes to win games and to finish them off. So I have a feeling they're going to be a bogey team for us in that round 26, and we just need to be real careful we don't get ambushed twice again by the Titans this year.
Yeah.
And then that last game again. That last game again in that last game against the Sea Eagles, who are one of those teams that will be trying to do everything desperately to stay in touch with the 8. And I don't know.
Is that one at home? Is that at home for the Warriors? Or
no, that's at 4 points. So Manly have got they've got an interesting run into the final few rounds. They've got
doable, man.
The Roosters
for Manly,
this
doable.
Saturday. Well, they got 2 really tough games in a row: Roosters, Raiders, and then they've got a semi-easy one with the Tigers, Dolphins, Dragons, and then the Wires as their last game.
Doable, man.
Yeah,
still top 8 all the way.
The top 3, I reckon, are probably going to stay in there, unless by some miracle they have all of these injuries and then all of a sudden they start dropping games. But I can't see anyone else outside of the top 4, except for the Panthers, that could really look to challenge to come back up. The Warriors are going to have a tough time trying to stay in the 4, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. I'm not going to get deluded by the bright lights of being in the top 4 for however many weeks now. Hey, keep it real, man. Like, we need to win these games to stay.
Let's see the Broncos just keep coming down.
The Broncos
keep coming down.
The Broncos aren't even 5th anymore. That loss in the weekend pushed them out. 6th. And if not for Aleka Halasima miracle comeback try, the Warriors would be looking at 4 losses in a row. We were back to back, and then we won that one by that Leka miracle, and then lost again to Titans. We would be staring at 4 losses in a row if not for that Leka miracle. But in saying that, even with those 4 losses, we still would have been 4th anyway. But you don't want to be hanging on to 4th place by the skin of your teeth, man. You want to send a message out to the chasing pack that, hey, man, we're top 4. You Whaaleanga Mea guys, fight it out down there for the Lekaulia trophies and try and desperately work out your...
I don't know who you're looking at, but it's, this guy's right down there, eh? Seagulls, mate. Got the Seagulls right there. Seagulls are right there, mate.
If we take away the 6 and
we're just gonna climb over the Dolphins, Sharks, and then Broncos as well. We'll be there.
You know what's going against the Eagles is their point stiff. They're at 22 at the moment, and 1, 2, 3, up to the Panthers. Panthers have got 79. Broncos are on 78. Sharks is probably the only team that they're close to, just 23. But they're actually close to the Warriors as well, on 28. But the Dolphins are on 169 points differential. So for all of those guys that are hanging around with the Dolphins trying to chase this top 8, they need to beat teams and beat them convincingly. Because if it comes down to points differential at the moment, the Dolphins have got it all over the Broncos, the Panthers, even up to the Warriors. So that's the team for me that is very scary, because from 5th down to 11th, like, those guys are still, maybe not 11th. I think the Cowboys probably 5th down to 10th. Everyone's fighting for those top 8 spots, but it's that point stuff that's going to be super important. And the Dolphins have got it all over those other teams. So, yeah, I don't know. That's going to play into it. And maybe that draw that the Panthers had, because they've now got... Who did they draw with? Cowboys.
Yeah,
they've
that's
got
what's given them that extra 1 point.
the extra 1 point, which makes them go that 1 point ahead of the Broncos and the Sharks. So, and the Panthers are on a bit of a run. They pick up the Titans this week, so I'm hoping the Titans have still got some whakleanga mea powers within them to, smack the Panthers back down a bit. Because, like you said earlier, man, we need to create some distance between 4th and 5th. Because the bloody Panthers are right on our tails.
Oh, we don't have to worry about points difference. We're just going to outright win our way. We'll be there. We'll be there.
Yeah, you guys are still 3. Only, what round are we? 22? 6 rounds left?
6 rounds.
Well, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 20. Is there 27th, eh? Was it 26?
Yeah. 27.
So, you're still 3 behind the Warriors. So, you got some ground to make up. But, that top 8 spot, nothing is for sure from the Panthers down. And I'd even include the Warriors in there because even though we've got a little bit of a cushion, man, that's only 2 games we've got a cushion for. Yeah, they need to be able to win the games that they can win.
Earlier in the season, the Panthers were dead last, and I remember Ivan Cleary saying, "Oh, don't worry about the ladder. Doesn't matter until late July." And sure enough, that's where they just timed it. I don't know if we ever did fully outright write off the Panthers. I don't think anyone was that dumb. Where they sit now, do you see them just seeing what, over the weekend, just some of their players having a bit of a refresh? Some of those young guns, Casey McLean really stepping up into his role as centre as well. Do you think they have it in them for a 5-peat?
I doubt they do. They absolutely can. You look at their casualty ward, they've only got Sonny Luke, and he's due back this week. They don't have anyone else injured. They don't have anyone else suspended or HIA injuries. They are in the perfect position to make a run for the top 4. They are poised, man, and ready to strike. And everyone else in the top 4 have got some major players injured. If we'll start at the top with the Raiders. Let's see who the Raiders got. They've got Chris out. He's due back for concussion this week. Matty Nicholson's due back next week with an ankle injury. Savlio Tamale is due back round 26 of his knee. And Albert Hopewata's out for the season. Doggies have got 3 out at the moment. Stili Tupunua comes back next week, hamstring. Marcelo Montoya, his neck, round 25. Connor Tracy's out with an abdomen issue that he picked up from the game in the weekend. Storm are probably the hardest hit out of the top 4. But they get a couple of their players back this week. Alec McDonald, Paps. Nelson's back from suspension next week. Moses Leo hamstring. Concussion, Will Warbrick's back in 25. But then they've got a couple of players who are out to be confirmed. Achilles, Dean Yeremia, Marion Sever's eye. Saw Fatlong's out with a hamstring, and Jerome Hughes is out with his shoulder. But they're expected to return for the finals. But, man, I don't know about Suahami's one of those things that you might think is all good, and then you do a light, warm training, and then koi mingi lua wale vai. So, and then you've got the Warriors who are in the top 4. So the Warriors and the Storm are probably the hardest hit with injuries and things. Yeah. Freddie Lussig's out. He's due back this week. Wade Egan's due back next week because of his concussion. Chanel, he's out, due back next week with a calf. Fisher Harris is out with a calf. Couple of weeks, due back around 24. Alileo Tawa's due back around 24 with his ankle. Rocco Berry, shoulder around 25. And then you've got those 2 big, massive losses for the Warriors. Luke Metcalf, Mitchell Barnett out for the season, both ACLs. The Panthers are the only team in the top 5 that will not have any injuries after this week.
Sure.
So heading into this weekend's games, they have everyone from their top 30 roster available, whereas everyone else in the top 4, and some of these teams are pretty hard hit. They've got players that very key positions that that aren't playing, so they don't have their number one selections for a couple of their key positions. But the Panthers do. So if you're asking whether the Panthers have it in them to go 5, yeah, they do. They definitely are making a case for it. It didn't look like it at the start of the season when they were really struggling to find those combinations with the number of players that they lost, both in the backs and in the forward pack. But they've come right the last 6-7 weeks. Like, they've been playing some really consistent football. They've been playing like the Panthers of old. We're finally starting to see the Panthers do what they've done in the last 4 years with losing players, but just the next guy up slotted straight in. And that's what they've been doing in the last few weeks. And, albeit with a bit of Panthers magic, like Cleary. I don't know if you watched that game in the weekend where Cleary did that eat-ass sort of grubber off the outside of his boot. And
it looked like a miskick.
It curved. He kicked it off the side of his boot. Man, and it like curved right around all the Tigers players in goal and went all the way to the other side with the one Panthers guy chasing, typed on the ball. I was like, suddenly, what a eat-ass kick.
Just radio control this ball to my player.
Suddenly that, honestly, when he did that, I was thinking, are you for real? Like, it just broke the ankles of all those Tigers guys looking at the ball, wondering whether it was going to go out. And then it just sort of bounced right along the dead ball line, but stayed in. I was thinking, hey, Kaea, Cleary, what are you doing, mate? Yeah, so they are well positioned to make a crack for that top 4, and absolutely they have it in them to go 5 in a row.
Nice, bro. Let's get into a couple of these games from the last round. We already touched on it. You talked about Reese Walsh and his touches. Man, a tough game. Like the Eels came to play. You look at the way they turned up. So I think there's a lot of credit. A hard one on Reese Walsh, like you mentioned it, but I don't know. Like, you talk about players when they've got those big pay packets and everyone looks to them going, like, I just wonder if it's the other way, if he goes quiet, trying to bide his time. Like, he's not a Latrell, so I think it's almost like he just tries to play the odds. Like, if he's touching it enough times, the percentages, surely he could, and I guess that's where we see the rocks and diamonds, because he's trying to do so much. But then the alternative is that he doesn't try, and people go, oh, he's paid so much money, but he should be getting there and trying to do something. So, yeah, I guess watching that game, I think that was probably the frustration for a lot of Broncos. Like, even just watching it as a spectator, you kind of get frustrated at it too. Like, even not as a Broncos fans, but just the early in the tackle count and just turning over position because he's trying to pull the trigger on something, just throwing a forward pass. And so I guess, yeah, that was the highlight probably that most people saw from that game is, how do they rein him in? Like, Adam Reynolds has spoken several times throughout the season, saying that it's his job to, help him pick and choose. So I don't know if there should have been a Kaea Kele for Reynolds, because I guess that is his job. And he's mentioned it and said that that's his job to rein him in, but we still see the same from the beginning of the year right up until the late in the season now. So I don't know. It was kind of the first time with all of those stars together, and you kind of expected a lot more from them. I don't know. I guess you kind of mentioned the way the Broncos have been going throughout the season, and kind of some of the injuries. Payne Haas was limping off at the end. I guess Broncos, maybe that was probably a big slip for them as well. Opportunity to make the top 4. So very much in that hunt now to stay in the 8. With their run, though, I think they have a decent run home. I don't know. Have they got maybe not threatened the 4 How do you see them going in the finals run?
Yeah, Rhys Walsh, and I've spoken about Rhys Walsh before.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a talent, man. He's electric. He's got the potential to be an elite NRL player and be remembered as one. But he's also got the potential to be remembered as someone that is costly to his team. And I'll compare him to like Billy Slater. We used to see Billy Slater do a lot of Rhys Walsh like things. So Rhys Walsh is doing a lot of Billy Slater like things, like hitting that line, speed in the ruck, speed from dummy half, speed in getting offloads from forwards that are looking for someone to dart through, and Billy Slater used to always be there.
Yeah, he just pop up.
Yeah, hard out, and then now you see that happening with Paps, and you've seen it happen with a few fullbacks who are really, really good. Like Dylan Edwards is like that, Tedesco's like that, Reese Walsh is like that too. Reese Walsh, and I've mentioned this before, needs to get a whole lot of maturity into his game, because at the moment, he's not playing high percentage football. And I know you talk about how he tries to get his hands on the ball and, risk and reward. And a lot of times the reward there is no reward because he's taken the risk and lost. Some of those plays in the weekend, only Reese Walsh could do those plays, or Reese Walsh caliber players like that. Scoot from dummy half to just run around, like to identify, okay, I can see who already is the A defender. I'm going to scoot past and run straight up the guts in between these guys. They're still backpedaling. Man, he was electric quick to get
just
through
because
that
he's so
gap.
fast, by the time you realize he's gone, he's gone.
Hard out. He was through that gap and away, and then there's a try on the end of that. So, but then there's the rocks stuff that he does, the forward passes. These are all these aren't like, I don't know, it's a lack of execution, and it's a lack of maturity. It's a learning to know when to pull the trigger, or when to, he still doesn't know when to sort of pull back a little bit. And I know they've talked about Madge saying that maybe he needs to bring that into his game, and then there's other commentators who I've seen talk about how, no, if you tell Reese Walsh to curb that part of his play, it's going to ruin his career and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, nah, man. Like, he needs to be able to know when it is he can inject himself into a game and when it is he can support and pull back. Like, he doesn't need to be the first receiver. He doesn't need to be the guy all the time. He can inject himself into the game and go with the flow of games. Like, like pick and choose the moments that you can really have an impact on the game. At the moment, he's trying to have the impact every single time he touches the ball. And every single time he touches the ball, something happens. It's either a miracle play or it's either a dud play. Like, had he got that 40-20, miracle play. But he didn't. Had that pass been a great pass, try time, but it was forward. Had he been behind the kicker, he would have scored that last gasp winning effort for the Broncos.
Doesn't know how to fake kick you. He
was too fast and ahead of himself. It's like, come on. And these are execution things. Like, these are things that, Sully, you need to be way better at executing to the highest level. You can't be average at executing basic stuff like forward pass or staying on side, watching the guy kick the ball. It's like, come on, man. You just can't. That stuff is basic. And then that kick, I was like, oh, Sully. Kick for 40-20 is like, Sully, come on, man. You've got guys who run the back line who are Adam Reynolds, Ben Hunt, who have kicked more 40-20s than you in your whole career. And he's fear, guys, I got this. The fear come out cool, dude. And in the end,
The hairdo, eh? It's the hairstyle.
But yeah, I think there is a bit more on Adam Reynolds. I mean, there was even a set where Payne Haas put a chip in. Like, that's where
Because they've seen
Reynolds
Ari
needs to
Savea
be
do it.
calling
They've
for the
seen Ari
ball.
Savea. Ari Savea is not a normal kicker, so they're all trying it too.
But again, there's execution. Like, if you're doing it at training and putting in the sets, yep. But when it's like a end of a set and Payne Haas is looking around and tries to, like, this is...
Because he's got no
That's why
options.
you're
He's
paying
going,
Adam
am
Reynolds.
I doing this? Okay, I thought I'll just carry. I'm
Well,
going to
those
have to
little
kick.
guys.
Where these guys are meant to be doing a backdoor pass to. Yeah. And I will get the ball.
Yeah, so I think we saw glimpses of it, 23, that final as well, where Reynolds has been going missing at these really crucial, important times. And we kind of talk about Walsh, but because Reynolds isn't there, like, yeah, if Walsh is too fast getting in there, but then that's Reynolds, like, really
I
needs
think,
to
yeah,
own
we
it.
take it back to that hit at Swali, even though it was only 7 minutes into Origin, and that's how long his Origin sort of lasted.
Exactly. It's the
He's never
after
quite
effects.
recovered
Exactly.
from that hit.
See that foul play?
It wasn't foul play. It just happened to slip underneath him, and and when you get a taste of Swali, you're a Swamali.
All I saw in the weekend was Swali premature celebrations cry. Australia thought they had it, and then the Lions came in. Down.
Yeah. Alalatoa's reaction said it all.
Celebrations.
The camera zoomed in on Alalato with a big fudge. How did
All
we
I've been
lose
watching
that?
I know it's a different code, but I've been watching like some of the reactions, like those Australian guys, these ex-players, is like controversial finish in the second test. I was like,
That's why I like Tunu Morgan, Tunu Morgan's not scared to just lay it all out there, man. And even Hooper was on the commentary team that game too.
yeah.
And you're saying that should be a penalty, man. Penalty all day.
I was
on the
watching
back
one
of the
this morning.
neck.
It was
And
like
they were
Matt Burke.
adamant, They were adamant it was going to be a penalty. They're going to overturn this try.
That is foul play, definitely foul play. That's a red
And
card.
the referee says, no, they arrived at the same time. Morgan was off his feet, man.
I was laughing because the Aussie player was really low in his positioning over that ruck.
Tizano, yeah.
So that Lions guy was like a knucker. He just launched himself and he was flat.
So then you go back
on his stomach.
You go back to, I think, 2019 World Cup when red cards were coming left, right, centre, and a Canadian player ruined their game because a Canadian player got red carded for doing exactly that, going into a ruck and hitting the back of a neck. And he got red carded for that. And that
it wasn't not only foul play, it was dangerous, man. That guy's head just buckled.
What didn't help? What didn't help Australia's cause was Tizano's sort of delayed reaction, and then his Hollywood.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah,
man, he should have just gone.
He should have just fallen back, man.
He should have just fallen limp at the ruck like this with his eyes closed, and then done the LeBron James.
Start to kick you a little bit. I fell for Australia, man. To a degree, I was wanting Australia to win that.
It would have been good to get a decider, but select Aussie. How can you be leading that far and then allow the Lions to come back? Anyway, I was just wanting to make a joke that Swali thought he was the man.
All right, let's move on from the Broncos. A hard one. I'll come to you first, Bobby. You were at the game. Watched the girls go down, curtain raiser. I thought they put in a lot of ake at the end there. I thought the boys would take a lot from the girls' defence to hold on and try and keep that scoreline from blowing out. So, especially off the back of the Broncos loss, like I think the ramifications that this game against the Titans had for the Warriors was, I don't think anyone was kind of taking the Titans easy. And I don't know if it was just the start to the game, just those two early tries, the way it came so easy. I don't know if that... Like, the boys looked ready. The way they came out, they looked like they were up for it. Off the back of last week, there was an early drop by Dallin, but it looked like the boys kind of, had regrouped, were really conscious about just playing this like a tough game. And yeah, it's almost like those quick early tries. I don't know, from watching it over the screen, it's almost like they kind of went in focused. Those came early, and I don't know if they just kind of let the heat off. Again, that's easy to say when the Titans were perfect. Like, they played awesome. Jaden Campbell, like, there's been a few games he's really put his hand up as a number 7. So at the same, like, the Titans came to play. Like, they played real high percentage. Like, the kind of game the Warriors are kind of, have built their season on. There's no fluke that we're in fourth, but they totally went away from the game plan that they would usually come with. And I don't think that's all off the back of, some players being out. I think the Titans really took it to us. Kieran Foran, he knows these grounds well, so I think him and Jaden played really well together. But down on the ground, Bobby, I don't know how hard it was to watch, just to watch the guys kind of let it slip away.
Yeah, it was a difficult game to watch, actually, because whenever you're at home, you always expect the boys to put on a performance, a gutsy performance. You want them to put on gutsy performances. I'll be honest, like, I don't mind the Wires losing if it looks like they were in the game and they were giving 100%. It just didn't look like that. Like, their attack seemed a bit disjointed. Tana Boyd didn't really, I don't think he varied it up enough. And it wasn't until the last 5 minutes of the game, and then he ran the ball. I was like, suddenly that was a very Sean Johnson-like performance, bro, where you just kept passing, kicking, but you never ran. And that was, one of Sean Johnson's strengths, that was to vary it up. And whenever he ran, when he was younger, deceptive. And who was the opposite of him in the weekend was Foz. Foz was running the ball. He was, and they pointed it out. I think it was Blocker that pointed it out when I was rewatching some of the stuff. I don't know who it was. I think it was Blocker. It could have been another person, but they were talking about how Foz is a real old school type half that likes to, Fafko Gingo at the line.
Yeah.
He likes to hit the line and take the knocks, whereas the halves that you get now with the young fellas, like, they don't want to get tackled. They always want to give the ball, or like footwork at the line, or get there and then pass it to one of their forwards to get bucket at the line, last minute hospital pass. But Foz is real different. He's one of those old school type halves that doesn't mind running at the line and making defensive lines try and guess, always putting them on edge as to what he's going to do, because they know he's got a pass, they know he's got a good kicking game. But Foz was running heaps, and he's not going to run through those gaps like he used to when he was younger. Gives the man's legs, it's just not the same anymore. But he still has that same vision that made him one of, like, most outstanding halves combo DCE back in the days at Manly. And him and Jaden played really well. Like, it was Foz's vision, but it was Jaden's kicking game, man. His bombs were, I was like, oh my goodness. And then their kick chase was really good. The Titans' kick chase was super awesome. Their defense was great. I was just looking at one of the stats here. Completion rate, Warriors were 78 and the Titans were 90. So,
man, see?
That's one of the differences. The Warriors looked like Warriors of last year or the year before last, where they weren't completing their sets as much as they have been this year consistently. They're a high completion rate team this year, the Warriors, which is why they're in the top 4. But that game in the weekend, they were only 33 out of 42 sets completed. So, they only had 2 sets less than the Titans, who had 44, but the Titans completed 40. And so, that's a telling stat. You aren't going to build pressure. You aren't going to put the opposition, into two minds if you're continually turning the ball over cheaply or giving it away in real poor field position like the Warriors were doing.
And it's not like they were tucking the ball too. They had offloads, they were using the ball. So it's like, a real good game from the Titans, like high completion, but actually using the ball, not just kind of competing high but doing nothing with it. So
and there were a couple of, I guess, controversial penalties, you could say, but they're penalties to the letter of the law, I guess. And, that one
And off the
where...
back of momentum, like it's easy to get pinged.
This is the one that grinds my gears. And this is something that Simon's brought up in the past, actually, where he talks about that 6 again rule. And so this happened with the Broncos. The Broncos were on attack. They were 2 behind, and they get a 6 again. And it was all a bit confusing because then the play sort of breaks down. But then, play the ball. But, the advantage is already gone. They get 6 again. Nothing comes from it. But Sai talked about how, I reckon they should relook at that rule, because if I was a team that was down by 2, I'd rather get the penalty and a shot at goal to draw it up than get the 6 again and nothing happens from it. And it's like,
yeah.
So in the weekend, like, that happened to the Warriors. Warriors had this, like, they were on attack. They had all the momentum. One of the Titans players had been knocked down in a set before, and the HIA came and the trainer came on, HIA, and they stopped the play. They stopped the play to check his HIA, and I was like, suddenly we were on attack. And
that's right.
Titans get the ball back, and then we get the ball back. We're on attack, hot on attack again, and then independent doctor. And I was thinking, really? You want to stop the Warriors when they're hot on attack?
Especially like, why don't they take them off the first time you guys stopped the play? But
it's all about player welfare, guys. Come on now.
No, absolutely. I agree with Raj. But what I want to do is I want to go back and have a look, not just at the Warriors games, but every other game that independent doctor call has been made, to see whether it's on the team who's on attack.
I don't know why they have to stop the play. I don't know why the referee has to interject, stop time. They should just get that player off. If they just put
the
up,
trainer can just pull them out.
Yeah, they pull numbers, or they get the trainer, and then the trainer can just indicate HIA and they come off.
So twice, that player, like the game was stopped because that guy was HIA. And then the game was stopped again because that same guy who the trainer said was all right got taken off.
Strategizing.
I was right there with that conspiracy. I was like, this referee's got a multi on the top. This guy longer, man.
It's the touchy. It's the touchy's got to stop the play.
And then I was thinking, nah, don't think like that, Bob. Until that chance, Nico Klukstad, where he got up to play the ball. He put the ball down and then he went to Kulunga like this, and then he got Kele off the ball.
Yeah, that's right.
That's foul play, man. He was getting up to play the ball. Oh, look, the bunker reviewed it. You placed the ball on the ground before you got up, so they're allowed to. And I was like, how is that allowed if you've already called held? You've already called held, so he's put the ball on the ground. Now, I don't know if he did call held. I just thought, he must have heard the held ball.
If he's playing the ball, that's held, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. It was like, put the ball on the ground to get up to... But then you got Kele again, and the guy fell all over.
Penalty try.
Penalty try.
And then we've gone upstairs to the bunker. They said that, it's fair game for them to play at you because you've just planted the ball on the ground before you stood up to play the ball. And I was like, that is the most bullcrap-a-doodle rule I've ever heard, man. The guy's getting up to play the ball, and you're still allowed to gargle them all over the place to then affect the knock-on. I was like, come on. They're just making shit up now to crap on the Warriors. They don't like that we're in the top 4, and they're trying to... It's conspiracy. There needs to be an investigation, mate. There needs to be an investigation. Yeah, but the mood at the ground was pretty sealed, bro, after the girls lost, and then we were losing that one because we were down 12-10 at half time, and I was like, hey, come on, Wise. This is a monkey on our back team. We need to get them off.
Yeah. I think, watching from the TV screen too was the same, like just feeling like it. Yeah, just if it, I don't know, like just that's how it came across, right? Take nothing away from the Titans, but I mean that was our best back 3, and Roger was the only one who got over 200. Even Chance struggled to get his usual numbers. So yeah, maybe a bit of injury with Dallin coming back. We'll look at that in the preview as well. You still booking your tickets? I was hoping Stace would jump on. Your thoughts on the Warriors? No team outside the top 4 has won the competition. The Warriors hang on there; they're still in with a hope. Yeah, just with the, I guess, like you said, we've already talked about the run. Just your thoughts on these last few games. What would you like to see? Like, there's a few injuries. Like, we're not going to have Wade this weekend. You know, he's been real solid at trying to lead, especially with some of the leaders out. Wade, no Fisher Harris. We'll talk about it in the preview.
To
But I don't know,
Harris
like
either.
against the Dolphins, what are you hoping to see more from the guys?
They need to shore up the defense on that right side, man.
Yeah.
There was too much of Capewell falling over, trying to make tackles. There was one week where Dallin got Sinbin, and then they put Pompey on the wing on that side, and they swapped. And I think having Pompey out there, I think, would be a good thing for Dallin. I reckon they should bring Capes onto this side with Roger.
Yeah.
Because I reckon Roger can cover him, or he can cover, and I reckon Pompey will be a better centre because he's an actual centre, as opposed to having a centre who's a second rower, and then you've got a winger who's a bit down on confidence, having leaked plenty of tries in the last few weeks. You know, I think they need they need a solid centre. And I'll be honest, man, I've been one of Adam Pompey's biggest critics over the last 4 or 5 years, but this has been one of his most steady, stable, flipping years that I've seen him play. Like, he hasn't done super fantastic things, but man, you haven't noticed Pompey for knocking the ball on or for he's been super solid this year. And so, you know, props to Pompey. He's played really well, but I reckon they swap Capewell and Pompey, just so that Dallin's got, you know, he's still an elite winger, and he's had a crappy run of games where he's letting lots of tries, and they keep saying he jams in. It's like, the only reason why he jams in is because his centre jams in, and as the winger, it's your job to move when your centre moves. He can't stand there and mark his winger if his centre's gone in, because then he leaves a big, massive gap on the inside. Yeah, it's a lose-lose for Dallin at the moment, and you know, it'd be good if he was scoring tries as well as letting them in, but he's just been letting them in at the moment. So come on, man, fat piling him out, because at the moment it's
same read, So I think that center combination is probably gonna, especially against the Dolphins. All right, let's move on to the Eyez Kalava Cup. Only a couple more rounds, boys. Let's go have a look at the ladder. This year or next, still sitting pretty at the top there. Danny Phipps coming in at second. God Squad third. These Nuts in fourth. Samoan Mandingo and All Madden coming in on your top 6. NZ Steppers just outside, with Ultimate Manly, Via Bronx and Clutch City coming in behind. So, a couple of more weeks, boys, to try and make some moves to solidify your position in that top 6. Going to be some pretty important games. You've been picking up some good wins there too. So, I don't know if you moved, though, by beating Via Bronx this week, Bobby. I think you need to be playing some of these other teams.
I will if Ultimate Manly beats All Madden.
That's
I need a big favor from Ultimate Manly. It needs to beat All Madden, and then both of us will move up to 20 if I beat Simon as well, and then I go ahead on points differential.
I think Ultimate Manly, mind you got a gay team. Might be able to. If not, I'll come do some trades next week, Ultimate Manly. And need all these critter and all that. I mold your team. I'll put my trades in. All right, let's get into our previews. Let's look forward to round 22 of the NRL competition kicking off tomorrow night. Eels in the Storm. How you guys seeing this one?
Eels Storm.
Come to you first, Rog.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I think Eels, after having a good upset win over the Broncos last week, Storm with the inclusion of Pappenhausen coming back in. I know the teams haven't been finalised, but I think Pappenhausen will be there to hopefully prove that he is going to be confident enough to play out these last few rounds before playoffs. So I think the Storm will be too strong for the Eels. As much as I want the Eels to create another upset, and like you mentioned, Bobby, the Eels will probably be close to having the most debutants this year, eh? They've blooded a whole lot of new boys that have graduated through their age grade system. So, yeah, you got the likes of Joash, Papali'i, Sam Tuveti, Yongi, all these boys that have come through their age grade representative grades. And
Sam did really good last week. He had an awesome game.
yeah, fantasy-wise, he had some big points, more than...
He's got a good motor for a big boy.
Yeah, and he's still quite small in terms of his width. He's not as broad as he can be. He's tall, big height, a lot of height, but you imagine when he fills out, he's only
to other players.
He's only just turned 20, so he's only young. And imagine when he fills out to be like a grown man, it's going to be even bigger. And I think he'll be. I don't think he's as tall as who's our Storm player? Nelson, but he's pretty close. And imagine when he fills out, because they're all quite skinny when they're younger, but
he looks big on TV.
But yeah.
Bobby, Eel Storm.
On paper, it's Storm for me. They get Paps back, they get Munster back. But again, it's that Whakleanga team part of the season. And the Eels, that was a good win against the Broncos last week. But, even though they won, I think the Broncos were to blame for their loss. Like, they lost the game. It wasn't that the Eels won it. The Broncos lost it for themselves. So I don't think the Storm are going to be... they probably had a good match last week, good back and forth with the Roosters. And so that's probably something that won't happen this week with the Eels. I reckon if the Storm get ahead and they get ahead early, it'll be a bad game for the Eels. So I'm picking Storm 13+.
All right. I will back the Eels just for their Whalianga factor. Dylan Brown back in. I don't see where though.
He's 18th man.
Back in. All right. Real important one at home. Was and the Fins. You go to this one, Bobby? You guys coming up?
Yes. Friday night games are stink games to go to though, because they're super late and they finish late.
Yeah. Traffic, but the Fins haven't beat the Warriors since they've been in the competition, so I think maybe that's one positive for the boys. How you seeing this, Roger?
I think coming off a bye, the Dolphins will continue to twist their dagger in the Warriors' chances of top four. They've got a pretty good team lineup with the Hammer at the back there, Isa Ako, Farmerworth. These guys have been, playing pretty consistently over the Cody Nikarima. I don't know is he just back from an injury as well?
Back in. Yeah, I thought he was injured. That's quick.
Obviously, katoa.
Yeah, so hamstring, I think. Yeah.
So you got some of these, real exciting players that they've got in that with the Hammer at the back. But they'll be there to try and upset the Warriors, run into the playoffs. So, and I think those injuries that you mentioned earlier on, no Fisher, Harris, no Egan, and Harris Tavita's out as well. So that might play into the Warriors dropping yet another game.
Well,
Dolphins 12 and under.
Yeah.
Just agree with me.
Warriors.
Are you worried?
Warriors with my heart. Warriors with my heart. Yes. But my head says that Katie Nikorima coming back in with Katoa this weekend. Like the start of the season, Cody and Isai Katoa were like the standout halves combo. Like they played really well together. And man, we've still got some issues to sort out defensively. I reckon if we lose this game, it'll probably be good for the Warriors because, come on, you need to change something if we lose another game. And especially if Dallon's wing starts to leak more tries, I'm looking at Capewell and Pompey. Herbie Farnworth has been a standout centre of the competition for me. And it's going to be hard work trying to get over this Finns team. And so, man, Warriors all day in here, but up here looking at the number of injuries that we've got and the number of players that we've got sort of covering, like Freddie Lussick comes in onto the bench. We've got Tane Taupiki. We've only got two forwards, Laban and Tanisdale Smith, as part of the prop rotation. So it's like, someone's going to have to be playing lots of minutes, man. And they've got Demi playing. This is probably his first start, I think, at prop.
First start,
and so he's going to have to play a whole lot of minutes unless they've got Jackson and he's going to pick up a bulk of those minutes. They've got young Sam Healy coming in for Wade Egan. He's a good player that I've seen, but again, he's young. I don't know. Could these young talents at the Warriors be enough to not be intimidated by the fact that the Finns have come with all of this experience to play them this Friday? Who knows? My head says it's going to be a close one with the Finns pipping us, and I hope I'm wrong. Ooh. But you can't pick your team even against these kind of odds. It's like, come on. It's just it just makes you look silly if you're going to pick even your own team. I mean, we've got Tamaita and Tana Boyd. That's a halves pairing that's never played together this year. So it's like there's a lot of things are going against the Warriors for this game against the Finns, and it won't be high scoring, I don't think, because if the weather is rubbish and it's raining, rain is the great equalizer. So who knows what'll happen if it's a wet track. But for mine, it'll be Finns in a close one.
Oh, nice, Bobby. I'm back in the wires. Like I think there's no surprise why the Warriors are in the top four. Andrew Webster is a brilliant coach. And bogey teams, again, like we said, the Finns haven't got up over the Warriors, playing away as well. So, coming off the back of a bye. I think for the Warriors to do well in the finals, I think they've I don't agree. I don't agree that it's good for them to lose this one. I think they've lost enough close games, like you were saying, without that brilliance of Lecker against the Knights. They could have been 4 on the trot, so they very much need to turn a corner and turn it soon. Like I think, not in terms of their top 4, top 8 hopes, but more the run to the finals, like getting themselves in order. The back three, again, that's our best back three. All fit and healthy, so expecting a lot more from them, just those carry meters. A real struggle probably is going to be that right edge, especially with Herbie. He's a handful and a half, so I think Kurt's going to have his work cut out for him, marking him. And then Avarillo, I guess I didn't realize Nikorima was back. And I think that's probably the scariest is this house combination, and just the growth of his Katoa. So, very much the same as Bobby, but my heart and my head are both going the Wires. So I'm gonna pick the Wires for a nice comeback win in front of home fans. Let's go over to the Broncos. Probably a good reprieve for them. The bottom of the table. Rabbits, probably a good chance for the Broncos to regroup. After that hard loss they took. I guess the Rabbits are not hiding to nothing with all of the injuries, so I'll go the Broncos 13 plus in this one. Roger?
Yeah, I think Sal and Tobo coming in will be interesting there after the season that he's had with all the controversy around all of that. But he'll make Bailey Bentley Hapes. He's going to be a handful for him. But also, I think with all the talk around Payne Haas and the deflection to Samoa, eyes will be on him for a big performance for the Broncos, from a Broncos perspective anyway, as they try and solidify as high a possible ranking in the ladder. So, yeah, not much else to be said with the Rabbitohs other than trying to, whakleanga mea with all these teams that are in the 8. So, but I reckon a bit of redemption for Reese Walsh after last week. They should be able to hand it to the Rabbitohs 13 and over.
Bobby.
Whateanga mea, team of the week for me. Rabbitohs and a close one.
Sideman won't be happy to hear that. JT's going to be volleying at you, Bob.
Oh, you don't know, man. Like, you never know. Bennett could be on his way to his first pungi la au, but maybe he still wants to get one over.
Hey, just because the Dolphins are going to hand it to the Warriors, Bob, you didn't just have to do a Chicano U-turn on the Broncos like that, man.
That's what I'm going to be kakaloing if we lose to the Dolphins. Like, come on, Rabbits. You have to win.
Self all day in this game.
You got one thing for whakleanga mea, but you guys just look o leanga now, man.
All right, talking about local.
Bennett's going to want to beat the Broncos.
The Titans, Bobby, you're hoping they might have another performance like they did against the Warriors. Yes. I don't see it happening. Bobby, your actual pick for this?
I'm going to back the Titans.
Oh,
I reckon the Titans is going to put a full stop on that streak of the Panthers.
Up to 7 in a row. Rog, you see it happening?
I reckon with all the talk about Payne Haas, I reckon Fotuaika will be like, mate, I'm a premier prop for Queensland too. Man, you've forgotten about me. I'm not deflecting anywhere. Jeepers. You don't have to worry about Queensland. I've got it. So the Titans will be a big game again for Fotuaika.
Where's Mo? Is Mo someone? Was he?
Well, no, he's mid-20s, and I think he's, I don't know what.
I think he's a Konga.
He must have Tongan heritage, but by all accounts, he's born and bred Queenslander. So, and he won't be deflecting to Mate Tonga anytime soon. So, he wants to be counted, mate. He's putting his hand up. Forget about Payne Haas. I'm here, man. I'm here to stay. He's just a pain in my ass.
Pain in my ass. All right. Dragons and the Raiders. Bob?
Yeah, Raiders for me all day. This is probably not going to be a close game.
Rog, you see Flano doing anything different?
Yeah, well, when you look at Kaea Weeks is another one that's been in the talks as well, because, but then he's Australian born.
Oh,
he's Australian born with Māori heritage. So unless because he's already sworn his allegiance to Australia in the recent weeks because of all the talk about origin. So he obviously
so that heritage isn't the same, mate, because that's tier 1.
But tier 1. But then when they're talking about opening it up, because you look at how many tier 1 teams are there? There's only 4. It's Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and England. Those are the 4 tier 1 teams. Yeah. So they may as well open it up. But then all those players that have missed out. So Kaea Weeks has put his hand up and saying he wants to swear his allegiance to Australia. So he wants to, that's speaking to the fact that he wants to play Origin as well as Australia. But he's grown up and played in the Australian representative age group. But yeah, that spine, man, dangerous. You got Savage. Sebastian Chris has been playing awesome as well in recent weeks. Fogarty leading the charge. But Josh Papari, I think there'll be just too much firepower across the park for the Dragons. 13 plus.
Yeah. The father-son combos taking on each other.
Oh, yeah, true. That's a cool one. All right, let's go to the just had it here. Your Manly boys against the Roosters, 4 points, I think. Bob, how do you think this going?
I think the Roosters were unlucky to lose last week. This is probably going to be the game of the round, I reckon. Manly looking to bounce back after that walloping they took last week against the Doggies.
A little speed bump.
Roosters looking to bounce back too after that close loss to the Storm last week. But this is probably one of those coin toss games because they've got strike weapons in both teams. If they play to the potential, coin toss for me. I reckon if Manly can start like they did last week, they brought a real steal with them in their defence early on in that game. And then it just fell off. Coin toss.
Coin toss?
Probably. Yeah, man, it's a coin toss for me because...
Come on, man.
They nullify each other. Like, they really do. And at this point of the season, it's whoever's going to be the most desperate. I reckon it'll be the Roosters in a close one.
Well, it goes without saying, man. I'm going to back my Sea Eagles. Yep. Bit out of sorts against the Bulldogs last week, but to be expected against top 2 table team. But I think when you look at that backline, from Lehigh to our prima donna and Daly Cherry Evans, so long as Daly Cherry Evans and Garrick keep out the emotion and just stick to the play and just pass and distribute to, the firepower that you have in Saab and Kohler and Lehigh from the back, I think we should take care of Tedesco in his Roosters. So, but then, as unassuming as Daniel Dubois is, and as much as I dislike the way he plays, but he's so safe in the aerial. But that's why if Jason Saab's cornrows or his little plaits are not tight enough,
a lot of ifs in this explanation.
I believe that Sea Eagles will continue their ascension to top 8 status.
Just be like me.
13 plus. 13 plus. 13 plus.
Oh, 13 plus. Yeah, where's the secret in the NRL DCE going to the Roosters? So I think the Roosters have got a lot to play for in this one. A lot of passion. I think everyone's over Daly Cherry Evans and his little antics. Everyone knows he's off to the Roosters, so I think Sam Walker's going to put in a performance.
Sam Walker's
just
going
to show him that he's being extra to requirements.
And then trying to put in the performance of the round, he's going to get injured.
To show DC, mate, you don't need to come here.
We don't need you. We don't need you.
We don't need you. We got a 7, mate. So I'm going to go Roosters in this one. Tigers and Doggies. Rog, how do you see
Bulldogs,
the Doggies?
Bulldogs.
Well, yeah. Especially after last week, you got it back.
Yeah. I'm just seeing. Let's see if.
The debutant. Do the ball.
Yeah. He's out. So, what a trust.
One and done.
Hey, he'll be back.
He's getting that first money. Chance against Lockie Galvin, I guess,
Ooh.
They named
Is it going to be a grudge match?
Yeah, they've named him at 7. Should be good.
This is definitely a grudge match.
But the way Matt Burton was playing last week, far out. How can you not include him in the halves for New South Wales? With all this talk about State of Origin, you've Matt Burton. He's missed out. So, but then you watch him play, the way he dismantled Manly last week. Just from his kicks and his runs and his vision. Bulldogs, 13 plus.
Yep. Yeah, I reckon the Bulldogs too. It'll probably be a closer game than it was when they played Manly. Only because I think the Tigers are going to want to get up and smash Galvin in this game. But that's probably what's going to make the Bulldogs win because they'll probably focus too much on Galvin and not realise that there's all these other guys, strike weapons on the outside. But it'll be interesting. They get Jareem back this week. They've got a lot of players who've come back from injury. They got Royce Hunt back in on the interchange. I don't know. They'll be competitive, but then they'll probably fall off, and then the Doggies will run away with it in the end. But I reckon it'll be a closer game than what we're all expecting it to be. But Bulldogs.
That's doggies all round. And the last game of the round, the Sharks and the Cowboys. Kaelo makamakanga.
Yeah, got to the point of
yes,
Kaea. There's the saungi for work the next day.
Sharks and Cowboys, yeah. That's it's gonna go watch. Well,
yeah, I'm picking Sharks. Like they had a very unconvincing win last week against a really competitive. Who did they play? South there, I think they played.
Yeah.
But they only just beat them, and Souths were probably unlucky to lose that game. To be honest, the Cowboys. Yeah, they've been super inconsistent this year for me. Like they look like the team that's going to come and win, and then they're all over the show. This is another coin toss game for me, but probably the Sharks in a close one.
Yeah, I think just the Sharks. Sharks will do enough to get home here with all of their strike power too. I can't see them losing to the Cowboys 13 plus.
Sharks thing. Nice. Okay. That wraps it up, guys. I went to Sharks as well. Let's finish on a quick little multi. You guys got anything there? You got any picks? I'll start us off. I've been backing this one every week, I think, but I'm going to go with your pick, Bob, and I'll go with the Rabbits upset with a AJ double. I'm going to get AJ there.
I'll go with the Dragons Raiders game. Raiders 13 plus to score tries. Kaea Weeks and Hudson Young.
All right, Rog, close us out, mate. What?
Bulldogs 13 plus.
Any try scorers?
Careers double.
Oh, that's actually nice little multi there. As always, gamble responsibly. Nice, boys. Any last words, Bobby?
Yeah, good luck to the Richmond Rovers this weekend. They play in a knockout game against Papakura out in Papakura. So good luck, boys. It was tight to make it into the top 6. Nice. And so 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th place play in a knockout semis this week.
Is Caleb involved?
Yeah. Nice. So they'll be playing against Papakura.
Oh, nice.
They got a pretty tough road too. If they beat Kura, then they have to play Otahu in the following match.
The Leopards.
And then after who it'll probably be Mount Albert. Yeah, so the top 2 teams are Otahu and Mount Albert, so they get a rest this weekend. And they get to play the winners of this weekend's games next week.
Right.
And then the winners of those games go to the Fox final.
All the best, Caleb.
All the best, Caleb.
Roch, any shout-outs?
Just to Paul Gillen. Hey, I know you took a few knocks from Sonny Bill and a couple of other knocks from Mark Hunt before that. But, kiki lalolo channel. Also, my favorite man, ongsa, the origin will take care of itself. But I think, they only know what they know, and as far as they're concerned, playing for Australia is the pinnacle, as well as the spectacle that is State of Origin. So they're just protecting that spectacle that is, as we've come to know and love. But I think there needs to be more empathy and understanding about these established players, these superstar players in the game in the NRL, to want to play and represent the island nation of their heritage.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Some hard hitting final words there, Rog. Nice. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for jumping on the 135 Footy Show. Drop us a like and subscribe. Go check out all our other podcasts on Off Day. Thanks, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Galen, one more. Me and you. Just kidding, man. Just kidding.
Can you keep that in?
Challenge. Me and Galen.
Call out Galen.
1, 2, kick out you.
So what was that thing they were saying, like Sonny Bill's corner? We're like, they had to get...